Hey everyone, we're going to talk today about Jairus' daughter and the woman with the issue of blood. And you can find that in Luke chapter 8, verses 40 through 56. And there is so much that we could go into with this, but I just want to focus on a couple of things. So we have Jairus, who is the ruler of a synagogue, and he is going to Jesus because his daughter, who is about 12 years old, is dying. Now, on the way to Jairus' house, there is a whole crowd around Jesus, and he stops them and says, "Who touched me?" And we find that there is a woman there with an issue of blood. She's had an issue of blood for 12 years, and she makes it to Jesus and touches the hem of his garment, and she is healed. So there is so many different ways that we could go into this and different little things we could study out. But first of all, I want to talk about the number 12. So I didn't always catch this, but we have the daughter of Jairus who is about 12 years old, and then we have this woman who has an issue of blood for 12 years. And anything the Bible tells you is there for a purpose, and it's not coincidence. So I just find that so interesting. 12 years. So I got to thinking about that. We don't know exactly the history of these women. We don't know the daughter's health before then, and we don't know anything about how old the woman with the issue of blood is, but we do know some things. There is a little bit of a dispute over exactly what the medical condition of the woman with the issue of blood was, but regardless, she would have been unclean according to Levitical law, no matter what the condition was. If there was a discharge of blood for that long, she is considered unclean. So that means she can't be around her family. She can't be around anyone. And we don't know exactly how old she was, but she probably wasn't married. She probably didn't have any children. She probably hadn't been around anyone in a long time. She was considered unclean, and no one could touch her or they would be considered unclean. So she hasn't had much of a life for 12 years. Now, we look at Jairus' daughter. We don't know anything about her, if she was a sickly child before then, or if this was like a sudden illness. But it says that she lay near death, or she was dying. And, let's just say she was healthy before then. You have the woman with the issue of blood who has not really had a life for 12 years, and then on the other hand, you have this 12-year-old girl who probably was full of life until she got sick. So just looking at the contrast of that was really interesting. And, it says that after the woman with the issue of blood was healed, that one of Jairus' servants come to him and say, "It's too late, your daughter is dead." So, you know, that just opens up a whole new scenario when I think about that. Jairus, he was on the way to his house with Jesus, and now he stopped, and this woman's healed, but his daughter's dead. And as a parent, I just think, like, they were so close. He was on his way to his daughter with the one who could heal her, but they were stopped. And, I just wonder what his feelings were about that. But the story doesn't end there. Jesus is able to speak to the woman with the issue of blood. He calls her daughter. And I believe that is the only time in Scripture that he looks at a woman and calls her daughter. Now, he's able to heal her, speak with her, and all this is going on while Jairus' daughter is dead. But they continue on to Jairus' house. They already have mourners there, and Jesus is saying, "You stop this. She is not dead. She is only sleeping." And he brings her back to life. So the point I want to make here is that, while you are waiting on your blessing, while you are waiting on your healing, you are going to see miracles happen for others. You're going to see people be healed. You're going to see people receive the very thing that you're waiting on. You're going to see others be blessed by God. But he doesn't end there. Just because someone else is being blessed, just because someone else is getting their miracle, that doesn't mean that you won't. Someone else's miracle does not take away from you. It doesn't take away from you. God's timing is perfect. It looked like all was lost to Jairus, he was probably thinking, I was so close. This man could have healed her. This man could have healed my daughter. This woman was healed, but my daughter's dead. And, sometimes when we look at scenarios, we think, well, I'm happy for them. They got their blessing, but what about me? Someone else's blessing does not take away from you. It should not make you sad. It should not take away from your happiness. It should not take away from their happiness. God's timing is perfect, and He can bless more than one at a time. His timing is perfect, even when it looks like death. He can bring dead things to life. And I just think about that, that was such a big moment for both of those, for everyone involved. All the crowd saw this woman healed with the issue of blood, and all the people that thought that Jairus' daughter was dead and now she's alive. I just love that, and I love the contrast of this girl who was about 12 years old and this woman with the issue of blood for 12 years. There's something there that's not coincidence. And I just think about this woman with the issue of blood. She had no life for 12 years, and now she's fully healed and restored. I just love that. And Jesus doesn't tell her only that she's healed. He says, daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace. And then when he's talking to Jairus about after the servants come and say, your daughter's dead, don't trouble the master, he's saying, fear not, believe only. She shall be made whole. There is something more than just a healing. There's something more than just a blessing. Jesus makes us whole. He makes us whole. He fills us with more than just that miracle. It goes beyond that. And while there's one thing going on, God is just the master of connecting everything together in the most beautiful way. So if you are waiting on something, if it feels like you're lifeless, if it feels like you're waiting on a healing, a miracle, and you see others being blessed, do not let that take away your happiness, because God is working all things out for the good. Nothing is coincidence. He is fitting everything together just the way it needs to be to bring Him glory. And that's the most important thing. So, I love that story. I love Jairus' daughter. I love the woman who was healed and she was healed from that terrible medical condition, and the daughter was brought back to life. The whole thing is only a few verses, but it has so much meaning. And if you haven't read that, go read that now. It's in chapter 8 of the book of Luke, verses 40 through 56, and there's a whole lot of other things to unpack there. So just read it and see what the Lord speaks to you about it. Okay, bye.